Present.
Chairman Pastor Eddie Lake.
Present.
And Miss Renee Richardson is absent and excused. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call. Bow with us, please. Eternal God, our Father, we thank you. Allow us to bow and call on you. Thank you for a spirit of unity. Thank you for the beauty of this day. Thank you for the blessings that you don't deserve. Thank you for the vision, leadership of this great city. Privilege of sitting here today, deliberating, making decisions that will make the city even better. Pray, oh God, will buy into all of these decisions, the deliberations, pray, oh God, that as these visions
Amen.
pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Members, we had an opportunity to do this.
She's a non-voting member. I second that.
All those in favor, let me know. So is the order. I have any minutes for
We already had a motion to approve the agenda. I think we skipped over item 5, which is approval of the agenda.
Oh, did it? I'm sorry. The motion to approve the agenda. Yeah, we don't have the minutes for January the 14th.
I think they've already been approved. So we can vote on that.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, it's party time. Now we're ready to receive the 129.
Those who have the, here we go. Item number 7 is the plan development, redevelopment, rezoning at 129 Marion Street, District, PDD 2022-0. project request is land development, redevelopment, to allow for communication, healthcare, animal care, business support service, office, retail, industrial uses, and associated private services. But I believe you all have the handout in front of you showing the location of this property. It's on the east side of Marion Street, approximately 130 feet south of International Speedway Boulevard. Thank you. I don't have a screen in front of me, but that's okay. You all can follow along with me. We're another slide ahead. If you'll advance it one slide, please.
Yes, ma'am.
The next is an aerial. Okay, I'll take control. It's right here. The slide that is before you now is an aerial of the property, and you can see that this site includes 4 parcels, total of 4 parcels. The next slide is the current zoning, which is the RDM5, and the current land uses is a commercial building and a cell tower, and the proposed land use is mixed use. The next slide is a little bit on the project history. And on the slide, it probably gives you a little bit more context than most of the slides do when I present before, but because it's 4 different properties, I'm taking it a property at a time on the screen. So the 129 Marion Street, the Volusia County Property Appraisers records reflect that in 1990, the Chua family purchased the property. And then from 1991 through 2005, the property was paved. A portion of it was concrete, a portion of it was asphalt, and there was a chain link fence installed around the property. And then in 2008, 2 storage buildings were installed on the property. And then additional information for your information is currently there's a cell tower on this property address. The next slide is the second parcel, which is the larger of the 2 parcels. It had an address of 117 South Marion Street. According to the Volusia County Property Appraisers site, in 2000, a chain link fence was installed around the property. And then according to our city records, in 2009, the single-family home was demolished and it became vacant land. And in that same year, a business license was issued to Big Oak Landscaping Nursery. And then in 2009, the Chula Investment LLC organization purchased the property. The next slide is additional history on the other 2 lots. This is 2 smaller lots. They look like little rectangles. According to the property appraiser site, this is 1,185 square feet, which is identified as vacant. And then in 1996, a chain link fence was installed. In the year 2000, in November, Mr. Anthony Chula became the property owner. And then in 2005, the property was transferred to Chula Investment LLC. According to the city's records, in 2009 through 2016, we issued a business license to Southern Comfort Taxi Company. And the 4th parcel identified there has 945 square feet, and it's a vacant lot. According to the property appraiser's site, the Chula Investment LLC became owners in 2007. The next slide is additional history for you, which brings us to why we're doing the planned development. On December 1st, 2021, Bryson Crane Service applied for a business license, and it was denied because the crane service is classified as a heavy equipment sales, rental, or storage use, and this is not a permitted use in RDM5 zoning district. So to describe the project to you, this is to bring the property into compliance with the Land Development Code, and the applicant request is to rezone the property. Property size is .59 plus or minus acres of land from redevelopment RDM5 to redevelopment plan development redevelopment to allow for an industrial use along with other uses and associated site improvements. The next slide shows you the site. I want to say another name for it, but it's not coming to me. It's the site plan. And the next slide is a list of the waivers and modifications that the applicant is requesting. As part of the rezoning request, the applicant is requesting the following waivers and modifications to the Land Development Code. Article 5 for the use standards, section 5.2.B.25.C of the Land Development Code sets forth certain use specific requirements for industrial uses and notes that heavy equipment sales, rental, or storage use is required to be located at least 250 feet from any residential district or existing residential use, school, or child care facility. The applicant is requesting a modification from this request to allow the use to remain in its current location. The next slide is addressing the landscaping request. In section 6.4.C and 6.15 of the Land Development Code sets forth minimum perimeter landscaping requirements. The applicant has discussed the build-out nature of the property and the inability to meet the minimum landscaping requirements set forth in the Land Development Code with city staff and requests a waiver from these requirements to the extent they conflict with the landscaping existing within the site and proposed within the modification request and proposed within the conceptual development plan of the property, This modification request would include perimeter and building landscaping along with tree preservation standards that would typically apply. Where a perimeter buffer under the Land Development Code would require installation of a wall, the applicant is requesting a waiver to allow the existing fence to remain. The next slide is an additional landscape request in section 6.4.D of the Land Development Code. It sets forth requirements for vehicular use area landscaping, which apply to require landscaping islands within parking areas for the site. The applicant is requesting a waiver of the required vehicular use area landscaping islands in order to allow for maneuvering and coordination of vehicle traffic within the site in its existing configuration. The next slide references the parking and surface use. In section 6.2.E.4 of the Land Development Code, it sets forth certain minimum lane distance of parking lot entrance driveways, including a minimum stacking distance of 25 feet. The current parking configuration includes a gate right along the property line. The applicant is requesting that this gate remain in its current location and configuration. The next slide speaks to parking and surface use. Section 6.2.H.4 of the Land Development Code sets forth requirements of parking area construction such as materials and requires that parking and loading areas be surfaced with asphalt, concrete, brick, stone, pavers, or an equivalent hard, dustless, and bonded surface material. The property currently utilizes dirt and milled areas within the site for parking of heavy equipment. The site contains 3 designated parking spots near the office entry to permit parking of a vehicle by an employee or guest. The applicant is requesting that this condition for outdoor storage of vehicles comprised of millings be permitted to remain until the time the property is redeveloped in the future. The next slide is addressing fencing. Section 6.8.C.3 of the Land Development Code provides that barbed wire fencing is prohibited in all zoning districts except industrial districts. The applicant is requesting a modification to allow existing barbed wire fencing within the site to remain in its existing condition. The recommendation before you is provided all Land Development Code modifications are accepted. Staff recommends approval to rezone .59 plus or minus acres of land at 129 Marion Street, the vacant parcel at 5339-01-23-0031, the vacant parcel number 5339-01-23-002A, and vacant parcel 5339-21-03-0012 from the RDM5 zoning district to the planned development, redevelopment to allow for communication, health care, animal care, business support service, office, retail, industrial uses, and associated site improvements. A majority vote by the Midtown Redevelopment Board members present and voting is required to recommend approval to the Planning Board and the City Commission. This item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the Planning Board on February 27th, 2025, and the City Commission for first reading on April 2nd, 2025, and the second reading, public hearing, April 16th, 2025. Board members, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I know we probably missed some slides, because we only got one visual, right, in this package?
That is correct.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out, what's the building that's fronting, ISB there in front of it? I'm trying to, Rob, can you tell me?
I will trade
Okay.
places with Rob, and I'll let the firm
Not
representing
saying
the
you didn't
applicant.
do a good job, but you
Thank
did.
you.
but-
No, I'm not technical to the point that I can address you. You're on.
And you're taller than I am. Rob Merrill for the record with Cobb Cole, One Daytona Boulevard. Michelle's very thorough. So you guys hopefully got most of the package, but what I'll say is, we're not on ISB, we're off of.
I know that,
Marion.
I know.
So I don't know what that building is. I think there's an office, of like a lawyer's office or something out there on the very end, Lynn. But we're back to the south.
Right.
So I don't know what those buildings are. I kind of I've done some tours around there looking at everything. I think it's if you guys know the area, it's been a mixed bag of stuff there, but it's been primarily industrial stuff for quite a long time. Tony Ciula, who Michelle was talking about, actually couldn't be here. He wanted me to apologize. He's had back surgery, so he's laid up. But he did actually send me a text message when I asked the question. He actually had been in the cab company, and I'd helped him with that over the years for 29 years on this site. So you might remember Southern Comfort Cab. That was him. And somewhere in the 90s, he hired me to get the city to approve his cell tower that he built, which all of a sudden we all had cell service, City Hall and my office. And so that's what he did for the longest time. And then, Lyft and Uber and all that stuff came along in the cab business kind of right away. So Jim Bryson, who's half a block and a half away, Bryson Cranes has been around forever and ever, ran out of space, and so he's letting his trucks park over in the parking lot, basically is what it is. So, we discovered that I guess the zoning law had changed somewhere along the line that said Jim couldn't have his trucks parked there. So that's how this kind of came about. We got the city. Michelle's been maybe 2 or 3 years, it seems like we've been kind of trying to figure out a way to do this. And so we're going to put some landscaping in. We're going to put some opaque fencing in, so the view along Marion is obscured. And I don't think the trucks are causing anybody any trouble. We had a neighborhood meeting. I don't know that anybody, maybe one or two people showed up. Yeah, so I don't think there's anybody who's raised any concern about it, guys. So this is one of those things where we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing, which hasn't really caused anybody any trouble, other than the technicality of the code provisions that we're going to now adjust. We actually removed some of the things, I think, that were in the existing RDB zoning, and working with the city, I think they found some things that they didn't like about it, so we put this custom zoning, which you guys are familiar with the plan development. It's just for this piece of property, so you can't do any more, can't do any less. That's pretty much the extent of what's allowed. And then we're going to be doing some recycled asphalt as the surface there, so it's somewhat permeable, so when it rains, it perks into the ground, like what's there now, without paving it with solid pavement. So we went back forth to the city about that tonight. I think we showed some examples of how that's been done successfully, and I think everybody's okay with that. So that's kind of the story, maybe more of the story than you needed, but if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
I've got one more question. I did notice about requesting, I guess, the waiver. One of it said they wanted some time until the property would be developed. I think that's one of the things that it said in here. Is there a time? Okay, so talk to me about it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I should have brought that up. So that should really say redeveloped. In other words, if we're going to tear it down and start over with something else, that's what that means.
Okay.
So for now, we're just trying to clean things up so everybody's okay with what's been going on now, currently. Basically what I just explained to you. And then, who knows, maybe somebody comes along and says they want to build something else there. So that's when we'd have to do the other things that were the sort of the tripwires for the redevelopment, if you will.
Okay.
Are there currently any hazards on that property as you develop? I heard mentions about the wiring and
No, it's been status quo for quite some time, and all the utilities are solid. We've been back and forth with all the different departments of the city about making sure all that stuff is in order, and I think it is, so that's pretty much where it stands.
Would you consider this a low-impact development?
There's not much impact at all, to be honest with you. It's a very quiet situation. You know, the trucks that you see parked there, I think most of them are for when they go pick the cranes up and take them somewhere. And then there's some of the trucks that actually have a small crane on the truck. That's pretty much what's parked there. And I don't think they don't make them a lot of noise, and they don't come and go that often. So it's basically kind of a place that they stage for Bryson's operation that's further to the south.
Right.
But the tower isn't functioning? Is the tower
Oh yeah, no, that tower's got a lot of carriers on it, and it keeps us all running. So it's
Very good.
thankful to have that.
Any more questions? More members? Do you have anything else to present?
No, that's all. Just answer any questions you guys have.
Yeah.
Sounds like Michelle has a question for me.
You have one? Sure.
I just wanted to respond to Mr. Thompson's question. There's a law firm on the corner, according to Google 2 years ago.
Okay.
It's a law firm.
There you go.
Very good.
Thanks, guys.
Are there any public comments? Laurie, fill out the form.
I will. Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. I was just wondering, the site plan slide wasn't in the backup online. Could we look at that? Is it possible to just look at that again?
I included it, Ms. Ruby, I included it when I prepared the agenda item that you're referring to, so I'll have to speak to staff as to why it didn't get in the packet.
Okay,
But,
I just wanted to
Xavier, can you
look at
pull
it.
up the site plan, it's the PD plan? It's not a clear version of it, but I'll hand Ms. Ruby one of the copies that I have with me.
Then I'm okay.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, I got it if you want. Okay, thank you.
Are there any further public comments? No further public comments. Can I have a motion
There you go, Nick.
to receive the recommendation and approval?
Yeah, I think staff, if I can, staff was good with it, based on staff motion to approve. I'll move.
Is there a second?
A second.
Moved and properly second that we approve the recommendation presented by staff. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, say no. Motion carries. Site plan is approved. Thank you so very, very much.
Thanks, everybody. I meant to thank you for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate your hard work. All right, we now move to our staff reports. We have the police department. Captain, come on down. You're the next contestant.
Captain Leo County Daytona Beach Police. These are the most recent crime stats for the reporting period between January 14th and February the 10th. For District 1 Patrol, we handled 2,493 calls for service, completed 631 reports, made 76 felony arrests, made 88 misdemeanor arrests, conducted 415 traffic stops, issued 515 citations. As far as our Group A, more serious crimes, both for person and property. Unfortunately, we did have the first homicide of the year, which occurred this past weekend. That investigation remains ongoing. There were 8 aggravated assaults, of which 5 were cleared by arrest. There were 4 domestic aggravated assaults, 3 of them cleared by arrest, 6 simple domestics, 3 cleared by arrest. There were 4 sexual offense investigations, which remain ongoing. There were 5 vehicle theft investigations, 2 of which were actually attempts. 1 recovered stolen vehicle with an arrest, 12 burglaries with 6 being cleared by arrest. We did have a significant uptick in robberies. We had 6 during this reporting period, half of which were cleared by arrest with 3. We had 10 car breaks, all of which remain ongoing investigations. A couple of things of note is we had 2 weapons complaint investigations, the first being at Audrey and 5th Street, and then the next one being at Joe Harris Park, which occurred early Saturday morning. For arrest of note, our department coordinated with a federal counterpart in the apprehension of a wanted subject from Orange County in reference to attempted homicide warrants, and he was successfully apprehended and arrested. As far as proactive operations and some of the additional things that we've been doing to reduce crime, we've conducted approximately 976 extra patrols. Of those 976, the vast majority of them are in the Midtown corridor, unfortunately because it's experienced the most significant increase in both violent crime and persons crimes. There was a warrant operation we conducted during this time frame where we made 10 attempts, locating 5 felony subjects. And as far as community presence and engagement, we continue to conduct our 4 p.m. briefing during the weekdays when there is school at Campbell Middle School. Unfortunately, we found that maintaining that consistent presence there at 4 p.m. has helped to reduce a lot of the issues there. As far as special events, fortunately, the Rolex 24 and the half marathon both went without any hitch, other than a little bit of traffic issues. There were no significant issues. And now we roll right into speed weeks with the trials going tomorrow, and then the big 500 on Sunday, and then bike week shortly thereafter.
Wow. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Jeremy, thank you so much. Any questions?
Great presentation, thank you, please, sir.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question, and it's for both of you, because I did, I cited something last meeting about a property on Maryland Clapperton Boulevard. I did see that, I guess code came over there, and they did move the big dice game now across the street. And, okay, all right, good enough. Thank
But
you.
yes, we are actively addressing that.
Something's happening, definitely.
Yes, sir.
Because they cleaned the property up, they got lights on, but they actually moved across the street. But it's a smaller, right.
I can
Thank you,
I can tell you we have been continuing to hammer that whole area.
thank you so much.
God willing, one day I would like to have MMB with the same amount of cameras that Seabreeze does, because I think that would definitely help the
Yes,
situation.
that would make a
Yeah.
big difference. Yeah, that would.
I don't know if it's appropriate for me to bring it up, but there are a couple of promising things that we have working for the PD. Obviously, the Zero Eyes program. I don't know if anybody had any questions as far as that.
No, explain that. Yeah,
What the
I'm not
deportation stuff, is that what the?
No, it's a program called Zero Eyes. It's artificial intelligence, and it taps directly into our Genetec camera system, and the AI will detect a firearm that has been brandished. So once the firearm has been brandished, the AI will detect it, will send it to a call center, which is manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then a human being will then observe it, confirm that it is indeed a firearm, and then, appropriately dispatch police officers. The only reason I bring that up is because I know that there is a proposal for them to stop that. There was a House bill currently making its way in Tallahassee, and they are proposing to not allow the use of AI for gun detection. Unfortunately,
And what's rationale behind that?
I read the bill, and there doesn't appear to be any. In my personal opinion, I will say that they believe that it is an infringement on both the Second and the Fourth Amendment. However, the one thing that I would say is that my rights end when yours begin, right? So although they proposed not allowing the use of this program, they still want to use it for schools, airports, government facilities. However, the vast majority of violence, there's no way to predict it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if this does not detect something that is hidden or concealed, that doesn't go into somebody's pocket or into their vehicles and their residence, anywhere where there is truly an expectation of privacy. This is for someone who's made an overt movement, where it is now displayed out in the open. And this would not be out in, this would not be in somebody's enclosed residence where there's an expectation of privacy. This is, down the road, on the sidewalk. So.
One question, if we could get the cameras, especially on MMB, like on Seabreeze, I'm sure we would have to improve the lighting on MMB because it's horrible. Yeah, this is no criticism on anything, but I know we gotta improve the lighting if we're gonna, because it's almost to the point of danger now. I don't know if that's the technology or it was a result of the storm, but it is, the lights have gotten worse.
One of the things that we are working on right now, there was a little bit of movement at the police department. We have a new lieutenant in charge of special projects, and we now have a new sergeant who's serving as that code compliance liaison with the police department. This sergeant is actually certified to conduct a SEDTED study, and one of the first things that she's going to be working on, hopefully this week, maybe next week, is conducting a SEDTED study of Joe Harris Park. Because of the recent events that have been going on, unfortunately, there are a lot more than people may not realize. I think that addressing the environmental challenges there, which include lighting, fencing, natural landscaping, that would all benefit that immediate area. So, God willing, that'll happen soon.
Very good. Any other questions?
Excellent report.
Excellent report. I do have one more question, and it's relating to local threats. And I bring that up because this past weekend, there was a court case. An AME church actually won the lawsuit against Proud Boys in Washington, D.C. And so our global security sent out a message for threats anywhere. In African American churches, starting with the AME church, which our church, our chapel is AME, and wanted to increase awareness and an advisory. And I understand Chief was informed regarding any possible or pending threats. Have you all heard of anything locally?
We have not received any
Tips or?
any tips whatsoever. What I can say, and although it is only a handful of months old, is we actually did have a joint training session, for lack of a better word, with members of the Black Clergy Alliance. And there was a discussion and training over the new carrying options as far as firearms, some of the things to watch out for. But if there is something tangible or actionable as far as intelligence goes, we wouldn't hesitate. We do what we need to do.
Excellent. Thank you. Excellent.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Keep up the work.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now we'll receive a report from Code Compliance, Ms. Sarah Kirk.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sarah Kirk, Inspector with the city. I brought December 2024 and January of 2025 cases that were opened. Looks like there were a total of 24 code cases, 2 vacant lot cases, and 1 blighted property condemnation case. Code is continuing to address citizen complaints within the city. Does anybody have any questions or concerns? Anything I can help with?
I have some
Okay.
concerns. I've reported it, I don't know how many times, but
41 Lockhart?
941 Lockhart. It's growing higher, it's almost to my waist, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And 940, diagonally across the street,
Okay.
we have some new people there. I don't know what the liabilities are or what the rules are, but there are 9 to 12 cars parked there every night.
Okay.
When I left coming here at 6:20, there were 7 cars. They're using the home as a place to repair cars.
Oh, okay.
And this goes on until 9, 10 o'clock at night. They've been there about 2 months, and it is ridiculous. You cannot sleep at night because they're out working on the cars, but they've got radios going in the car loud to keep them up and going.
Okay.
Forgetting about the neighbors. The lady that lives right next door is about 84 years old, and she has to put up with the foolishness. And I think the coach should do something about that.
I'll make sure that we're on that tomorrow. I'll get with the
Thank
code
you.
inspector for the area. And then as for 941 Lockhart, it's the same ongoing issue. However, I brought this up with the vacant lot inspector, Mr. Boswick, about it, and I believe he got with the manager. And I guess it's growing back, because I believe the city cut
They
it.
did cut it once, about
So-
4 months ago.
Okay, so it's due, so
Yes.
I'll bring that up to
Mr.
the
Chair,
inspector.
can I
as well.
add to the discussion?
Absolutely.
I was involved in a meeting with the city manager and my boss related to properties that are not maintained, and we're working on funding those projects. So there should be an issue that you have that should be going away soon.
Great.
Yeah, we're identifying funding to provide, regardless of whether we get in touch with the owner or not. We'll go ahead and maintain the property on a regular basis.
And the owner is dead. He has no family in the United States. And when I guess the powers that be tried to contact his family, even when they found him after 3 months in the house, when they got in touch with his family, they said they don't even have telephones, and they had to walk 3 miles to use a phone. So there would be no need to try to contact the family.
Yeah, there was
In
a
Vietnam.
holdout in Vietnam
Yeah.
that didn't sign off on it,
Mhm.
the sale, so that was fortunate.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all. Have a good
Any
night.
further
All right,
Thank
questions?
you.
No?
Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you very much. All right, redevelopment projects, Ms. Thompson, once again.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair, board members. I don't have any projects to report to you, but I wanted to highlight some of the handouts that you have already, and if I could get the board secretary. Leave me one of them. I was hoping Ms. Richardson would be here. So what Ms. Carrie is handing out is an additional resource for homeowners who have not been able to be serviced with the Transform 386. Transform 386 is through the county. This Elevate Florida is through the state. This is an additional resource for residents who continue to have flooding if they need their home rebuilt because the damage is to the point where it exceeds a certain threshold. This program, we've received information on this program recently, and this flyer is the only information I have to provide. I don't have a phone number, but there's a link on here for information. But this is an additional resource for homeowners who are still experiencing and will continue to experience flooding.
Quick question, I don't know if you can answer this or not, is this income-based?
I do not know.
I'm not sure. Okay.
This information was seen on South Daytona's website, and one of my coworkers saw it and printed it out, and I'm moving it forward, so I haven't had it enough time to do any follow-up on it. The other items are just events that are upcoming. The flyer showing you the historic icons. This is twofold. This is going to happen on February 22nd. This is twofold, meaning there are two things that we're kicking off on February 22nd at Dickerson Center. One is the MLK banners along ISB. All of the prior icons in the city who have been recognized, as well as the 12 that are along ISB now. They will have a monument, a permanent monument, not on February 22nd, but it's just to give the public information that those icons will be memorialized in monuments at Dickerson Center. And then the athletes will have murals on the sidewalk with their face, whatever photo they provide, there will be murals along the sidewalk. But none of this will happen on the 22nd. It's just sharing what the plans are for the Dickerson Center as it relates to an early action activity, which is a requirement through the Choice Neighborhood Grant. And then the Melanin Too Rich Festival is happening that same day, different location, over at Daisy Stocking Park. And I don't expect you all to be in 3 places at one time, but if you want to share the information. The last item is the Fresh Book Festival. That's again February 22nd at the Cherry Center. And it's multiple days. You know, there's Friday, Thursday leading up to it, Friday and Saturday events for the Fresh Book Festival. But that concludes the information I wanted to share with you. Do you all have any questions?
Can you send these electronically as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you tell me again about the icon, because I was there this past week with the banner.
Yes. So each one of the 12 that are hanging up now, as well as all the previous ones, I think that totals about 64, because it started in 2021 up to date. They're going to have 2 separate monuments erected at Dickerson Center. And this kickoff is going to give you a site plan of where those monuments will be, and it'll show you the athletes that, and you know what?
I didn't see Lynn.
I can see Lynn Thompson.
I was waiting for you to stop.
I
didn't see Lynn Thompson in
I
there.
don't need that. I mean,
Yes,
You may not need
Yes,
it, but the
you do.
community needs it.
Community is
That's
asking.
right.
but
I need to add Lynn
I was waiting
Thompson.
for her to stop. Where's Lynn?
Exactly.
Yep,
I
you
just
will
wanna
be
make
getting,
sure the
you will
date-
be receiving a phone call tomorrow for you to provide information so that you can be recognized.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And the reason for me saying it this way is because let me tell you the connection, because it's not an insult. Let me tell you how this started. So $100,000 has to be used as an early action activity to let HUD know that we're serious about trying to rebuild Palmetto Park, Caroline Village, and Walnut Oak. And that's the connection with Dickerson Center. It's the athletes who lived in Palmetto Park or lived around Palmetto Park. But guess what? The boundaries for this choice neighborhood includes where you lived when you were coming up. So I'm going to suggest they add Lynn Thompson, and if they don't like it, they're going to have to live with it.
There you go. So you let us know what we need to do to
Yes,
make sure
yeah.
that
I'm going to make a phone call tomorrow to add Lynn
Oh,
Thompson to this. So you will be memorialized for the
Absolutely.
future and the rest of Daytona to look at.
That's right.
okay, thank you so much, but I was just asking for something.
That's okay.
Well,
yeah.
But how can I talk without saying, wait a
No,
minute?
we know.
No.
I was waiting for
Right
him to
there.
finish.
Because the other day, Harry Burney's son was so touched.
Oh, yeah.
Chip was touched,
Yes.
you know, and I called Chip to let him know about it.
Yes.
And he he made sure he came. He felt,
Love to see
he
you.
felt so honored to just come and
It was good.
represent his whole family to be here.
Oh,
And that was nice.
Yes.
yeah.
But they'll have permanent monuments and it'll be their names, because Lomans is going to do the inscribing and designing of the monuments.
And
And
see,
it-
Kathy Washington was Miss Mother Hunt. She was, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I was there.
My brother
And they
was
do
I was
it.
there.
Larry
I went
Weston
to
was
Mother
Mother
Hunt.
Hunt, right. All these.
Everybody went to Mother Hunt.
You know, so
Yeah.
that, all that's history.
I can write a book on Mother Hunt.
Nice.
Yes.
Mhm.
Outstanding, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Right, you will champion that honor, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you deserve it, so.
I'm telling you.
Excellent, appreciate that presentation, awesome. All right, now we're ready for the spotlight on Midtown, Mr. Pierre.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Chair, for the record, I was born in Pelham Park,
All right.
and I'm a scientist, and ain't got no scientists up there. That's a record for all those geeks that's out there. And I went all the way to the White House. But anyway, no scientists, only athletes.
Get you one too.
Yeah, athletes are the- Anyway, on a lighter note, it's good to be able to see the board once again and speak for all the scientists out there. But anyway, no, just kidding. I understand our first spotlight this evening is actually Miss Tijuana Dozier, and she was actually invited to the board by Miss Bonner.
Yes.
So Ms. Bonner, did you have some prepared remarks you want to give to the board?
Sure.
Hmm?
I guess I could basically give them from here, I don't
Okay.
know.
Yes.
But,
Turn your mic on.
yeah, I guess that would help. We have a new system here. Good evening. Miss Dozier, and I were talking about a month ago at the MLK, program. And, we were sharing at that time, we also talked with Mr. Thomas about her coming and sharing what she's done with, Cameron's Gear and then her enterprise, Niche Enterprises, which has been involved in Midtown for quite a number of years, especially with Bethune-Cookman University students. She usually comes during the time of the homecoming and classic and other things, and she was diligent in hiring our students. Many of our, not only hiring, she has been a parent to many of the students. She actually has put people through school with her organization. She's hired individuals who started with her as a freshman and worked with her through their senior year, and some are now working with her after graduation. She has been a mother to students, but as far as an entrepreneur and a businesswoman, she does yield a lot of weight in the Midtown area. Recently opened Cameron's Gear, which is consists of some of the students actually being part owners with her. So I think what she does put into the Midtown community and has in the time that she has been here, has been unknown. But she gives a lot of herself and teaches students entrepreneurship skills. And most of them have been very successful with those skills and working with her. And she continues to empower and provide resources, not only financial, but she has put several through school that I know of. And is very involved in that community. So that's one of the reasons. And Mr. Thomas was present at that time and listened to her story as well. So I definitely welcome her, and I think she has a lot of other things that she's looking forward to expanding in the Midtown community. So we welcome you.
Thank you very much. I couldn't have said it any better to the chair. Our second one is Mr. Javon. He's actually called me a little while ago. He's got a plumbing issue, so he's not gonna be able to show up. So with that, I would like to welcome Ms. Dozier to the lecture, please.
Mr. IT guy, can you pull up the slide so that we can see the property location for Ms. Dozier's property? Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Bonner.
You're welcome.
Greetings to the Midtown Development panel. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. I just want to say thank you again. I'm also technical. I graduated from Florida A&M University with a degree in electrical engineering and also have an MBA. I come from very humble beginnings. I grew up in Winter Garden, Florida. My family were migrant farm workers. I think, some of you on the panel are old enough to relate to that. Since the tender age of 8 years old, I was picking oranges in the orange groves here in Florida. We traveled on the season and picked apples and peaches. and other fruits and vegetables up north. My passion has always been to help my family, to help others. Upon graduation from Florida A&M University, I took a job for General Motors in Detroit. So I worked as an engineer for General Motors for 5 years in Detroit, and I worked for 5 years in Atlanta. During that time, I started my MBA at UGA, where I drafted my plan for Cameron Resources. And Cameron Resources, Cameron, which is named after my son, because they always say when you name your business after your children, they would be anointed. Cameron stands for the Center for the Advancement of Minorities in Education, Center for the Advancement of Minorities in Education, Representation, Opportunity, and Networking. And that's exactly what I do for my students. I've known Mr. Lynn Thompson for a long time. I've known Ms. Davita Bonner for a long time. And Mr. Thompson has known me when I didn't have a physical commercial building. I started actually selling a paraphernalia for Bethune-Cookman out of a box when my son was 10 years old. So you can see just how good God is. If you just believe and you persevere and you are obedient. So over the years, as Ms. Bonner stated, I have hired students from the university to work, and I mentor them, teach them business skills. Not only have they worked at Bethune-Cookman games and events, but they travel, even out of state. They worked at Florida A&M University. I've flown students to North Carolina A&T's homecoming, to Winston-Salem State. My husband and I, we're licensed for 20 different black colleges and universities. So we do paraphernalia for different universities. At the store that you see on Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, we carry Bethune-Cookman attire out of respect for the university here, but we do sell other universities' apparel on our website. As Ms. Bonner stated, the students run the store. They are capable. Any given day of the week you come in there, you will most likely see them as opposed to my husband and I. We're very busy with other things. We pop in a couple times a week, but those students, they have been trained, they have been developed, and they run that store. Even with them running the store, my conversations with them are around, okay, have you gotten your internship in place for the summer? And one of the criteria for them working, whether it's in the store or participating in any of the other events we do, they send me grade reports. I can share with you text messages where they have to send me their grade reports. And part of that is just keeping them accountable, because it's not about you just earning money. My goal is to make them positive contributors to society. And Ms. Bonner talked about even when the students leave school, we're still connected. I had a phone conversation with one of my students, Najat, this morning, and he told me, he said, Ms. Dozier, not only are you my mentor, you're my mentor mom. He said, you remind me so much of my mom. Najat called me a few days ago because he had an issue. He had lost his job, didn't have all of his rent, so we talked about solutions to get that resolved. So fast forward a few days later, I actually called him this morning to check on him just to see if he was okay. Because he's always been a disciplined kid, but life is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in 2025, there's a lot going on in America. You spoke about what the church is going through and what we all need to be prepared for. And he told me, Miss Dozier, well, he calls me Miss Tia. He said, I want to be connected to you for life. And that's what I do for my students. It's not about a temporary relationship or about them running a store. We are building character. We are building people that are going to have long-lasting, positive effects to this community. So thank you again for having me, and be blessed.
Questions?
Oh,
Absolutely, don't run away.
I'm sorry. Do you have any questions?
I do. But before I ask my question, I got to say something because, Niche was one of the companies that served as one of the anchor companies for us in our branding. And I want to thank you because y'all did it the right way.
Thank you.
We had 4 companies that we could count on, and yours was one of them, that helped us when we launched our branding apparatus, and we knew that you guys were going to always do it the right way. We protected you. We shut down other vendors who were bootlegging because we needed you all to do it, to protect you, and we wanted to send people to you. So I want to thank you for that. You know, and look at what you're doing now. The next thing I want to ask you is, do you have any Kappa stuff?
Actually, the Kappa stuff sells out quickly.
But
But actually, when you visit, my students, they are instructed. If, you know, a customer comes in and we don't have what they want, put it in the logbook. And that's one of our tasks, to work on that. So yes, we can accommodate you with that.
Okay, good enough.
Mhm. And just to let everybody know what he's talking about, doing it the right way, as a licensed vendor for Bethune-Cookman University and all of our other schools that we're licensed with, on a quarterly basis, we pay royalties to Collegiate Licensing Company for use of the branding. And a lot of companies just don't do that. They don't understand the importance of giving back to the university. So even when I lived in Atlanta, because for years I lived in Atlanta, but I would come down for every game. I would assemble a group of students, and even when we didn't make money, the students I always made sure they had money. So, and Mr. Lynn Thompson was such a great mentor and supporter at that time. And even when he was like, get you some business majors in there. One of our students right now, Jordan, he's on the track team. He's a business major. I've been encouraging him to join the Black MBA Association. So it's a lot of good things that are being poured into these students. Are there any more questions? And thank you again, Ms. Bonner. She has been a staunch supporter. I remember I hired 10 students to work a homecoming, and I didn't necessarily need all of them, but we made sure all of them got an opportunity to work. And I thank you for bringing me such good students.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Your story needs to be heard.
Thank you.
We have another spotlight?
No, sir. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. All right, item number 10, old business, none. New business, none. Item 12, public comments.
None?
No forms of Philip, no.
I usually give the new chair until March.
That's unusual.
Is that what it is?
That's all next month.
So I better be ready next month. Good. Any board comments?
No comments.
No comments.
No comments?
No comment. I have one. I would like to ask the board to see about the possibility of partnering with the Urban Chamber of Commerce of Volusia and Flagler County. And the reason why I raise that type of potential partnership is because I believe Dr. Kennedy Jacobs is doing a phenomenal job of bringing those minority and a lot of those small businesses that get left behind, that may not have access to the larger chamber, but will have an opportunity to connect with other business owners that are local within the community for the purpose of course, technical training and development, but also to be able to collaborate to get access to capital that they would not normally have access to. And so it's just something that I wanted to present to the board, to see if we could support that effort. And I would already asked Mr. Jacobs, Dr. Jacobs, to come by hopefully next month to present to this board. I think they're doing a marvelous job for those smaller businesses that don't have access to larger resources.
I've got a question I want to
Yes,
ask.
absolutely.
Our director. what can this board do to help facilitate what the staff needs done? I know we might disagree from time to time, but, with new leadership, and I wish I could celebrate our previous chair, but moving forward with the new leadership, what can we do to make sure that the things that, you need us to implement, in an aggressive fashion, what can we do?
I think it's a great question, Mr. Thompson. I think the most important thing is to focus in on the priorities of the redevelopment plan. Although that plan needs to be updated, but we need to focus in on those top objectives that need to be focused in on, that will help improve the community, such as we need to focus in on more infrastructure, which is sidewalks, better street lighting, improving the housing conditions in the community.
You missed that discussion. Right?
Oh, okay, yeah. So in supporting small businesses, so Ms. Tijuana, she has a business there, and so it is incumbent upon our CRA to support her in whatever capacity we can to make sure her operation is sustainable and it grows as well. So if there is support for being able to hire more employees, we need to look at ways of helping her and other businesses in the community. So just off the top of my head, we just got the numbers from the tax collector's office. I think it was tax collector, yes. We did get I think like an 18% increase for Midtown.
Okay.
So out of the 5 CRAs, I believe Midtown came in second as it relates to all of our 5 CRAs. We had an 18% increase. So, and the money can't stay dormant. We have to spend the money.
Right.
So we need more requests. We need more projects that we need to do. We have to spend the money. So if the money is spent on acquisition, the money is spent on sidewalk, we gotta spend it.
Street lights,
Cameras.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
We mentioned
I
that.
got it.
Absolutely. That's
So
all.
those are the things that
Let's get it done.
we can do, and the full board, I would suggest if there are things that you want us to do, to look at, that bring them forth to the meeting, and we'll certainly look into it.
And the reason why I'm saying is, you got a chair here that's done this in another city. Okay, you got, this, you serve in this capacity in Polk County. You've done this. And I just think that, we got some momentum, y'all, that I want to make sure we can continue, to use, to implement the vision, to execute the plan, to change Midtown.
Right.
Let's do it, Now, if we upset some people, then they not for Midtown.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's the truth.
I'm sorry, but we sitting in these chairs because we accepted the role. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I'm on board. And I'm here to learn and to grow this community and be a part of the development and advancement. So let's go to work, let's do it. But those things are exactly what we need to happen.
Mr. Chair, you did bring up the chamber.
Yes.
So if you got a consensus that that is something that you want us to pursue, we can. We can obtain a membership in various chambers, so that's not without. That's within our objective if that is something that the board wants.
Absolutely. Attorney Russell, do we need to receive that in a motion? We need to put that to a motion to become a member of the Urban Chamber?
Become a member of the Urban Chamber. I don't know, I thought the indication was you were gonna have them back for a
Yes, we're going to
presentation.
bring,
Yeah, I think it'd be
back.
appropriate to have that motion at that time after the presentation.
Very good.
Okay. So he's just directing staff, basically. to
Yes, I'd like to
research
see
it for us.
research, yes. Absolutely. Okay. All right. No other comments. I would like to go on record, Ms. Richardson is not here, but I definitely wanted to celebrate her leadership
Yes.
and thank her for the work that she's done. And I came in halfway of her leadership, but I'm thankful. Preferably she'll be in place next week and we can do that more formally.
Yeah.
All right. So, meeting recap, follow-ups for the next board meeting. Anything? Mr. Ken, Ms.
I
Donna?
will reach out, I'll just follow up with what we covered. I'll reach out to Dr. Jacobs and invite him to the next, whenever he's available. It may
Yes.
not be the next meeting, but whenever he's available, I'll invite him to that. And then I'll get with legal, just so that if we choose to become a member of the chamber, I'll make sure that's part of something that, whatever it is we need to do, legal will direct us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Those are the only two items I have, but I do have, I think next month, are we presenting the plan for the roundabout and the lighting, or is it just the roundabout that's going to the commission?
I think we're gonna have we're gonna schedule a community meeting.
Okay.
Because we've hired, we have a consultant who is looking at Dr. Bethune Boulevard, Dr. King Boulevard, Lincoln and Dr. Bethune Boulevard roundabouts. But they will need community input, this board's input on, any suggestions. So we'll make sure if they're gonna, we'll make sure that they come here, or we invite you to a forum where that input can be gathered from you all.
Excellent. Okay. No, that's great. I appreciate that. Appreciate everyone's effort. Madam Secretary, thank you so much for all you do. All right, no further business. Meeting is adjourned. Yes.